Once there lived a poor woodcutter on the edge of a forest with his wife and two little children. He called the boy Hansel and the girl was named Gretel. They never had a proper meal, and to make matters worse, a famine broke out. The poor woodcutter could no longer feed his family. One day the woodcutter's wife told him that they were left with very little food. He became worried. It was then that his wife suggested, "It will be better if we take the children out into the thickest part of the forest and leave them there." She was heartless towards the children because she was their stepmother. Hence, she wanted to get rid of them. "No, I can never do such a thing. The animals would tear the children to pieces," thought the depressed woodcutter. But he had to agree with a heavy heart. The children were awake and had heard everything. Gretel started crying, but Hansel went outside and came back with his pockets full of white pebbles. The next morning, the children accompanied their parents to the forest, but as they went, Hansel kept dropping the white pebbles on the pathway at intervals, and they walked further into the forest. On reaching a thick part of the forest, the woodcutter lit a fire and asked the children to wait for them beside the fire. The children obeyed, but no one came, and it was nearly midnight. Gretel panicked, but Hansel assured her that they would find their way back home. It was a moonlight. It was a moonlit night, and the pebbles shone in the dark. Soon the children were back in their house. The woodcutter was delighted to see his children, but not his wife. Very soon they were starving again. "We should leave the children still further into the forest and save ourselves from hunger," the woodcutter's wife told him angrily. The woodcutter had to give in to her wishes again. The children heard everything but went with their parents into the forest next morning. Hansel was not able to collect pebbles as before. Instead, he dropped bread crumbs on the way. They were deeper into the forest. They waited again for their parents, who never returned to take them. When night fell, the children started walking back home. They found that all the crops were eaten by the birds. The children wandered aimlessly in the forest for the whole night, and the next day they were lost in the thick forest. They could not bear the hunger any longer. Just then they saw a wonderful little house. Hansel and Gretel were delighted. When the children came closer to the house, they saw that it was made of bread and cakes, chocolates and biscuits. Hansel said, "Eat as much as you can, Gretel." As they were eating, a very old woman came out and took them inside. She gave them a delicious meal and two comfortable beds to sleep on. But the old woman was a wicked witch. The children were not the children were now trapped. When they fell asleep, the witch carried Hansel and locked him inside a little stable. Then she awoke Gretel and told her, "Cook something for your brother, he has to become fat, and then I will eat him." Gretel was frightened but helpless. The witch checked every day whether Hansel had grown fat or not, and then one day she ordered Gretel, "Light some fire and prepare a pot full of boiling water. Today I am going to cook your brother and eat him." Gretel started crying and prayed to God for Hansel's life. The witch father added, "I have kept the bread in the oven. Go and see whether it is baked or not," she ordered Gretel. As Gretel opened the oven, the witch said, "Creep inside." "I don't know how to do that." "You will have to show me," said Gretel. As soon as the witch crept inside the oven, Gretel shut the door. The witch died inside the oven. Gretel rushed to Hansel and shouted, "We are saved!" As she opened the stable door, they rejoiced and started their journey back home. Before leaving, the children filled their pockets with jewelries from the witch's chest. After walking for a few hours, the children reached their house. They rushed towards their father, who was delighted to see his children. All of them lived happily ever after.